Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is resigning, becoming the latest symbol of failing progressive policies and hopefully the beginning of the end of woke politicians. Remember, for example, this.
Maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we would like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
There we go, exactly.
They're not cheering anymore, thankfully. Trudeau stepping down is now setting the stage for a Conservative Party takeover, as President Trump keeps teasing the idea of our northern borders becoming the 51st state. I'm sure you heard that. Joining us now to expand on this possibility, the author of the book, We Who Wrestle with God, and founder of the Peterson Academy, Canadian psychologist Dr. Jordan Peterson. Now he's in America. Dr. Peterson, great to see you. I thought as soon as we saw the Prime Minister come in front of his house and resign, we thought about you. Is this a good thing for Canada?
Well, I hope it could be a great thing. It's at least the end of a disaster. I mean, that's something. It's something to be said for that, right off the mark. Canada was at parity for per capita GDP with the U.S. 9 years ago when Trudeau took the helm, and now Canadians are at 60%, and our real estate is twice as expensive as it is in the U.S. And so that's a catastrophe. He's been a catastrophe. And so at least the catastrophe will be gone, and then there's reason for hope with regard to a new administration, which should likely be headed by Pierre Poilievre, who's the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada.
Who you've had a chance to speak to. Just to look back at Justin Trudeau's career, and it's part of the reason you're in America now, and it's our gain and their loss. In 2015, he was unveiling Canada's first gender-balanced cabinet. Forget about qualifications. An ethics commission finds that Trudeau violated conflict of interest when he took a free vacation by mistake. 2019, images surface after he's condemning everyone else and being politically correct of his black face, his brown face, as well as his Indian headdress. 2022, I think the most egregious, he targeted protesters and took truckers' bank accounts and froze them. That was a bridge too far. But he's done some damage to the country in the long term, not just economically. I think he's really hurt the morale of the country you used to call your own.
There's no doubt about that. And I think you're right to point to his administration's freezing, not only of the truckers' bank accounts, but of people who dared to support the truckers on various social media platforms. Right. And no, it was the I don't think Canadians still understand how devastating that was to our international reputation. I've never heard Justin Trudeau utter a word that was true. He's false in every aspect of his performance and thought.
So your new Conservative candidate, likely, I hope, will be your next Prime Minister, it seems, is Pierre Poilievre. And you interviewed him. And his statement he put out after Donald Trump is kind of trolling you guys, saying, I'm going to make you the 51st state if you'll have us. Canada will never be the 51st state, he says. Our weak and pathetic Liberal government has failed to make these obvious points. When I am Prime Minister, we will rebuild our military, take back control of the border, secure both Canada and the U.S. In other words, we will put Canada first. I mean, that sounds so much like Donald Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump wrote it. Coincidence?
I don't think it's a coincidence at all, but I don't think it's a conscious attempt, let's say, to mimic Trump. I think that I know that Poilievre regards the United States as, well, an ally of paramount value, militarily and economically, that his hope is that Canada and the U.S. can have the best relationship internationally under his leadership that the two countries have ever had, which is obviously the appropriate thing to do, both for the U.S. and for Canada. Canada is the U.S.'s major trading partner, and the reverse is clearly true. Canada has a virtually unlimited supply of energy and resources. There's absolutely no reason that the new mega hope that America can boom can't be boom time for Canada and the U.S. jointly. And that's exactly what should happen.
I want to talk about something else, some other big news that happened this week. Mark Zuckerberg is making it clear that Meta, Facebook, whatever you want to call it, he is deciding to forget about fact checkers, third-party fact checkers, let the Musk formula of community notes control what is his social media platform. A lot of people are pushing back on me when I said I'm relieved by this. I think it's a great moment. They think we can't trust Mark Zuckerberg after the Zuckerberg incidents. Your feeling, after all, you had a harder time on Twitter where they banned for a year. You haven't really been banned from Facebook in the past. What does this mean in the big picture?
Well, we have to give Zuckerberg a certain amount of latitude, I would say. It's not an easy thing for the owner of a private company, no matter how big, not to collaborate with the government when they're contacted directly and the demands are made that they do that. And for the longest period of time, both in the US and Canada, let's say, it was reasonable as a default position to assume a certain degree of reliability and goodwill on the part of government officials. And I think Zuckerberg was pressured tremendously by the Biden administration to put restrictions on free speech on his platform that weren't appropriate. And these are very difficult things to operate and understand, these large social media platforms. So I think we should cut him some slack. And then I would also say, well, if he's willing to cooperate in the direction of enhanced free speech and willing to extend a hand out to the new Trump administration, why not assume that that offer's made in good faith and work with him? I mean, it's not like it's going to be useful for the Trump administration or the MAGA movement as a whole to generate a lot of excess powerful enemies.
Lastly, Dr. Peterson, there are times in which you're painting, we were painting an ugly picture in this country, in your old country, Canada. I feel optimistic about where we're heading in Trump 2. Do you?
Well, you know, I was in the United States when I taught in Boston in the early and mid 90s, and the economy boomed. That was when the internet exploded, and there was a tremendous energy I could feel in northeastern U.S. that was vital and unbelievably productive, and I can feel exactly that now. There's a lot of possibility on the table, and Trump has a remarkable team of people around him, and they're going to be trying very hard to get their act together and to at least get the hell out of the way and hopefully facilitate movement forward and free the natural entrepreneurial spirit of the United States, which is deep and genuine.